Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today, I'm going to be doing another Star Wars Legends or Expanded Universe review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the book Rogue Planet by Greg Bear. So, Rogue Planet is a prequel era novel. It takes place, I believe, 3 years after The Phantom Menace, so it's in that space of time between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, which, at least in the novels, that I am aware of, hasn't really been explored a huge amount. And so I was really excited to read this because I've been really interested in that time period, especially with Anakin and Obi-Wan, which this book heavily focuses on. And I was a little unsure what to expect with this book. I was kind of imagining it would be another Legends book like a lot of the other ones that I've read recently that weren't like bad, but were just kind of okay. Because while what I've heard about this book was fairly positive, I have not heard very much about this book, which to me, a lot of the ones that I just haven't heard much about gives me the impression that, you know, they're not really that memorable, they're not super well liked or whatever. And so I thought that would be the case with this book, that I would just kind of think it was okay. And I actually enjoyed it quite a bit more than I expected. First off, to start with some positives, as I said earlier, this book focuses on Anakin and Obi-Wan between episodes 1 and 2, which is something that I've been wanting to see a lot more of from Star Wars in general, but especially the books, because I think books and comics probably are the best place to explore that. And I don't really read the comics, so that pretty much just leaves the books. So I was really excited about that in this book, and I think that was by far the best part of this book. Both looking into Anakin and Obi-Wan as their own characters, looking into Obi-Wan kind of, you know, thinking about himself as Anakin's master, reflecting on all the stuff that he's learned, reflecting on his relationship with Qui-Gon, who, you know, died a few years beforehand, but that's still fairly fresh for him. And then also with Anakin, you know, training under Obi-Wan, his kind of feelings on that, and just generally his feelings on, you know, all the, you know, leaving his old life behind and training to become a Jedi and all this stuff. So it does both of them individually really well, but then I also loved the relationship between the two of them. You really get a sense that they have a very strong bond together. And, you know, they have this very deep connection where, you know, they are master and apprentice, but they're kind of more than that to each other. You know, where Obi-Wan's kind of like a father to Anakin. And, you know, they learn from each other and they're very close and all that stuff. And I thought that was excellently portrayed in this book, and it was my favorite part of the book. I also really enjoyed the world building in this book. The plot of the book, which wasn't necessarily a positive or a negative for me. I enjoyed the plot, but it wasn't like an incredible plot. But I did enjoy the world building. This book, I'm not remembering the name of the planet, Zonama Sakat. So Anakin and Obi-Wan go to this planet named Zonama Sakat because they are tracking down Vergir, I don't know exactly how the name's pronounced. If you've read like New Jedi Order, which I'm currently in the process of actually, and she may appear in some other stuff as well, but I'm not sure. They're basically tracking her down because she was with a Jedi and then she went off to this place and nobody's heard from her. And so that's kind of what they're doing. And the planet, Zonama Sakat, I'm probably gonna have to reference that a few times. It's on the back of the book, so that helps. It's a very unique planet. There's some interesting stuff going on, some interesting world building that happens with that planet in this book that I really enjoyed. There's a lot of things about it that I kind of drew connections to, like the Yuuzhan Vong, which they don't appear in this book, but they are mentioned, which is cool. Kind of felt similar to that for me, like the way that the technology works on this planet with the ships and things. The ships are almost kind of living and all that stuff. It's very interesting. And I really enjoyed the world building in this book. Again, kind of what I just mentioned with the Yuuzhan Vong, I also enjoyed how this ties into the New Jedi Order. The whole really reason that I read this book is because I had been told by some friends that this book ties into that series. And I'm currently in the process of reading it. I'm about a quarter of the way through, a little more than a quarter of the way through. And so I read this book because I had been told that, you know, it ties in at some point in the series. And I really enjoyed those tie-ins. The book obviously has Vergir, who is in the New Jedi Order. It references the Far Outsiders, which is basically just another name for the Yuuzhan Vong. different things like that. Some cool little connections here and there that I enjoyed. And my final positive that I'm going to mention is that in addition to Anakin and Obi-Wan, Tarkin also appears in this book, and he has some POV chapters. I didn't find the Tarkin stuff nearly as interesting as the Anakin and Obi-Wan stuff, but I did really enjoy Tarkin's portrayal. I thought he was done really nicely, and I enjoyed seeing him. And as far as negatives, I don't really have a whole lot of really big ones. I would say the plot did kind of lose me at some points. I thought it was pretty interesting for the first half. And then, the second half still was interesting, but it kind of lost me in some places, It felt like it was, not as interesting. The book's really short, so it didn't really feel like it dragged on or anything like that. It would just be a handful of chapters that, maybe weren't as interesting to me, but the chapters in this book are really short, and the book itself is really short, so it's not like it really made a huge impact. And that's really the only big thing. I think the one other thing that I do want to mention is the cover. I really hate this cover. I usually don't talk about covers when it comes to books, but I'm not really a big fan of the take promo shots or shots from the movies and put them on a cover. But this just, I don't like it. It has like an image of Obi-Wan from The Phantom Menace, which I don't know what is 100% certainty, but I think it's from the opening scene on the Trade Federation ship. And then this really not super fantastically photoshopped image of a hand with a green lightsaber that looks really odd. And then this picture of who's supposed to be Anakin, but that also doesn't look quite right. It's just, yeah, I don't like this cover. I think that I don't know if this is going to get the Essential Legends collection treatment like a lot of the other Legends books have been. But as far as I'm concerned with the covers with those, I've been kind of iffy on some of the covers, but as far as I'm concerned, if they do this one, it can only get better from here. That probably sounds a little too mean. This isn't like the worst cover I've ever seen, but I don't like it. It's a really dumb nitpicky thing because it's not about the book itself, but yeah, I don't like this cover. But anyways, that is pretty much all I have to talk about with the book. So overall, I did really enjoy this one quite a bit more than I expected to. Like I said, I figured it would just be kind of an okay book, but I was actually really into it, especially in the first half. It really pulled me in and kept me pretty engaged throughout the book, aside from those few bits here and there. Although one other, it's not really a negative, but something that I do want to mention, the structure of the book is a little weird. The first chapter is like 30 pages long, and then all the other chapters are like 7 to 8 pages or less, sometimes only 3 or 4. And towards the end of the book, you get like half a page long chapters, which is kind of odd. So this book is a little weirdly paced when it comes to that. But anyway, I did really enjoy this book. I thought it was a lot better than I expected, and did some really cool stuff. As far as a rating out of 10 that I would give it, I think I'd give it an 8. Very enjoyable book. Not one of my favorites by any means, but it was a very good read, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And that is pretty much all I got for this review. So let me know down in the comments if you have read Rogue Planet and what you thought of it, if so. And if you haven't, if you would like to read it or anything like that. And if there are any other stories out there that have the strong focus on Anakin and Obi-Wan between episodes 1 and 2, let me know that in the comments as well, because I'd love more of that. I think the canon book Brotherhood goes into that, but I haven't read that one yet, but I would really like to. So let me know that in the comments as well if you have anything that comes to mind. But anyways, that is pretty much it for this video, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.